Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terrabin's Leadership. Thanks for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about homeless American citizens, veterans, and you name it. Also, we're going to be talking about the military. There seems to be an interesting imbalance, and that is we continue to spend more and more American taxpayer money on many things, too, the welfare state and the warfare state. And at the same time, what would be a leadership principle that has both the Democrats and the Republicans completely failed? What would it be? No US citizen should be homeless, particularly a military veteran, but no US citizen should be homeless. We know that. So I'm emphasizing, I'm not talking about foreign nationals. Obviously, illegal foreign nationals should not even be in the country. And if you're a foreign national, very similar how it is in China, before you could get a visa, work visa, whatnot, you have to prove that you could pay your job, pay taxes, health insurance, everything. So if you're a foreign citizen and you're allowed to enter America, which I'm fine on some sort of visa, a work visa, again, I'm not into legal immigration, but we can look at work visas and tourist visas. You should be able to support yourself. But if you're a US citizen, and we all know everyone comes down on hard times, could be medical issues, work issues, who knows, drug issues. There's so many issues, but no US citizen. We are such a rich and powerful country. And you're telling me we have US citizens that are homeless or military veterans? We're going to do the news and talk about it, but I want to emphasize this leadership point right now. Much in times in leadership, you use common sense. If you start breaking down microcosms and macrocosms, you can understand really what is right and wrong. Kind of what I said, remember before, an example about the southern border. You don't need to be the corrupt former FBI director, Ray to think that's probably a good idea to seal the southern border. And I think Trump is doing a good job on that. But let's go back to the citizens here, to the homeless. I'm a West Point graduate military veteran. I have reached out 2 years or more, well, actually more than that, behind closed doors, but then open for help. You may say, David, aren't military veterans coming to your aid? Now, there are. But in terms of, I mean, obviously, you've seen I've been censored so many times on media. My social platform is very small. The politicians are ignoring me. That if it really is military veterans helping out military veterans, it's just not seen in my case. And I could give you many examples too. Whereas the military veterans are not really one big family. I know the Hollywood and the politicians and Donald Trump wants to portray it as the military, which is only 1% of the American population, is one big coherent brotherhood. It's not. Part of the reason I left. I'm going to give you an example on this because we're talking about homeless Americans. Let's talk about homeless military veterans. Have you heard of? If you do, tell me, because I can tell you I haven't heard of it, and it's obviously not very successful. Have you ever heard of retired military generals and admirals? These would be the really high-ranking generals and admirals with 3 and 4 stars who made a lot of money off the American taxpayer, who got promoted on their leadership, on their selfless service, on taking care of men. Now they retire. It's actually a good retirement. If you retire from the military as a 4-star, 3-star general, anyone can understand. It's a nice retirement. So now is the time to give back to the country, because you might think, but didn't they give back when in the military? Not really, not what I think. So here we go. What about retired 4- and 3-star generals and admirals coming together and forming a nonprofit group? And their mission, like a military objective, is to make sure there's not one homeless military veteran in America. Sort of giving back, not even giving back, but continuing to take care of those Marine, sailor, airmen, soldiers to say, hey, when we were in the military, we were the 4-star general. We were the leaders of the military. We said, we're going to take care of you, gentlemen and ladies. And now we're retired and we are going to continue to take care of you. Have you ever heard of it? I've never heard of that. And if it is, it's not successful, which that doesn't surprise me. These generals, what I'm trying to tell you is we're going to relate to the big picture for the same reason I've said again. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, complete failures. Donald Trump, we'll talk about him. I still support Donald Trump, but it is getting kind of odd with him. Let's just say that. But that's another story. But Democrats and Republicans both failed us. These military generals, well, they're not very good at war fighting. They're failing. And I've said many times, Most of the people that are joining the military, the FBI, the CIA, you would think they're doing it for duty, honor, country, public service. It's not. It really is. And this is, again, why my story doesn't want to come out, because I don't even want to tell this story, but the truth has to be done, which is why I just want to be left alone. But you tell the story, and that is our people in the government are really doing it for a paycheck and a pension. I would say 90% of them. Because again, let's use common logic. That same leadership, I talk about the macrocosm, the microcosm. Think about it. We have military veterans homeless. Who should be one of the first and foremost people to help them? Well, you could say politicians, you could say American citizens, you could say, I don't know, the church, you could say other stuff. I get that. But what I'm looking at coming from military leadership, or what about those retired 4- and 3-star generals who retire with a very plush retirement? This would be a time where they said, listen, we're going to work together, retired 3 or 4 stars. We're going to come together and form a nonprofit group. And just like the military, how there's no excuse for second. You know, they're always about winning and winning, which they're not. They're losers. And we are going to accomplish this objective. And that military objective is every single military veteran is going to be off the streets. They don't care. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you would be amazed for the same reason that I've come out and said, listen, I'm a military veteran. I need help. You would think that military veterans would be the first people to reach out. A retired general, West Point, they don't. I've said many times, America is a corporation. And you've said it many times, or you've seen it many times working for a corporation. If someone gets fired from your job, meaning when you're working together, you're friends, you get along, but all of a sudden they get fired. It's like, bye, dude. That's America. We don't have a country anymore. You're going to see some examples coming up here I'm going to show you, especially me coming from my military background and in China. What did I say? The 2 biggest things that influenced my life outside of childhood, the military and China. And guess what the military structure is? It is sort of like fascism, whether you believe in it or understand that. And what's China? Fascism. And you say, oh my God, this is evil. Well, you do whatever you want as long as we fix the problem. But we are the richest, most powerful country on earth, and we have US citizens homeless. You don't think that's amazing still now? Like what's going on? And particularly military veterans. Aren't you as a civilian also interested, say, hey, I thought military people take care of military people. Like, why aren't these generals and admirals who retire with good money, why aren't they forming a nonprofit and really focusing on getting military? They don't care. Same thing, FBI. There's a retired FBI agent I talked to, and he said the same thing. He's like, David, you know why a lot of FBI retired agents don't want to help you out? Once, and this is so true, and this goes with other governments, same thing, the story I'm telling about the generals. Once they retire, because they didn't serve for duty on a country, it's a paycheck and a pension. Once they have that pension, they don't want to get involved with anything. They don't. They got a nice, cushy pension. They're not really interested in helping out people. They never really were in the beginning. And they don't want to get also in any trouble with the pension because then they're associated with me or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is we have really turned into a globalist corporation. And before we go, and this is what I tell about Trump, I like Trump and I believe he was different. And in some ways, I still think he is. But I really think the model of Trump is more the American corporations first, not the American citizens. So this is about American corporations. So Trump is big on building the military. Why? Because he's going to need it to defend the corporations, not you. Because if he's so much, think of all that money being spent, $1.5 trillion in the military. Why wouldn't some of that money go in getting military veterans off the streets? Meaning, if Trump is so much of a supporter of the military, why wouldn't that also encompass military veterans? Now, some people will say, I disagree with you, David, he is. Then let's see. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll admit I'm wrong. But I've said many times, Trump is the best president in my life. He's not going to solve it, and we're still going to go to civil war. That's it. But let's watch a couple things here. We're going to look at a couple things on X here. So we're going to do some of the news. So some people may look and say, well, wait a minute, let's be like Sweden and all these Scandinavian countries. Because, look at Sweden. You've probably heard about, and I've visited many times, the Scandinavian, and it is true. The quality of life there is very nice. So some people in America say, we have to do what they do. Well, as long as hopefully everyone could see what I said. I said, this system will work if Sweden remains European white. That was one of the elements. And this goes into Europe in general. Think I'm wrong about having this racial ingredient? So sure, when the Scandinavian countries were predominantly all white, sure, you could sort of do this. Not going to work with immigration and diversity. Think I'm wrong? Let's go to this tab right here. So here's the next tab. This is talking about Shenzhen. Shenzhen's cool. I used to live in Shenzhen. Should say this is Shenzhen, China. Shenzhen is right across the border from Hong Kong. So it's mainland China right across. And these pictures are true in terms of it is amazing how China is developing just in many ways. But there's a caveat, but we'll see this quick video first. Okay, so one of the things is, and the person says, this is Shenzhen, facts prove that socialism works. Well, I do want to say that if anyone looks at China as a good model, and in many ways I do, you have to understand it is an ethno-state. So a lot of liberals in America, they sometimes point to China and say, look at China, China's doing it. Well, they ain't doing it with immigration. They're not doing it with diversity, and they're not doing it with multiracialism. So just keep that fact known. If you compliment China on their system, which you can, I can do a lot, you have to know it is an ethno-state. They're not into diversity, they're not into multiracialism, and they're not into immigration. As long as you know that, then sure, compliment China if you want to compliment China. Let me see this tab here. This is just something else. This is Japan rising. I went to the Japanese Military Academy when I was exchanged when I was at West Point. Japan's nice, really nice. And I've said many times, you're going to see both Germany rise as a military power and Japan rise as a military power. It's good. It's better for stability in the world. So to the Japanese that are seeing here, you treated me extremely well when I was at your military academy. Time to rise. Same thing with Germany. And then the last, we're just going to go one more tab on the news here. And that is, so this is about China. And so this part's about the European is, and it's true. Europe, one of the main reasons that Europe is falling is if you are an American, whatever level of socialism, feminism, you complain about in America, you need to take it up a notch. That's Western Europe. I mean, the feminism, the lack of free speech, it's horrible. That's why but China is, so now China is gaining ground. But I want people to know that China didn't. Some people look at me, so hopefully you read that, and we're going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to go to hopefully everyone could see what I wrote there. So one thing is, before we move ahead, is I want people to know it. China didn't invent nationalism. So people are like, well, I'm not going to copy the Chinese because they're a bunch of gooks and chinks. That's an impolite word, by the way, to say. But anyway, China didn't invent. Even Adolf Hitler didn't invent National Socialism. Now, the word fascism comes from Italy. It actually comes from the time of Mussolini. It's fascist. But the point is, this concept of fascism or National Socialism, or China likes to say they're socialist with Chinese characters. It's all kind of the same. That's how Israel is, by the way, too. That's been the normal form of government. If you go back 100 to 200 years, all the way until the history of mankind, that's been the normal form of government. So the point is, I'm not saying that's the Chinese political philosophy, because China used to be communism. That didn't work out very well. That's why I say I think one of the best leaders was Deng Xiaoping. This gets into the homeless population because we have to talk a little about politics and leadership before we can talk about homelessness. But the point is China didn't invent this thing called nationalism. But a guy named Deng Xiaoping came along and he realized this communism thing ain't working. And he looked at other countries like Japan, like Singapore, even Western countries. But he didn't want to go so liberalized as Western countries because our system's not working. And he said, you know something? I like this thing called nationalism. And that's what they're doing. So as China embraces nationalism, they are going to win. As America, we continue to embrace globalism, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. And so this is so one of the key areas you have to understand is if you're going to be a nationalist, you have to ask yourself, who are your people? So that's what we talk about when I say no U.S. citizen should be homeless. That's a good starting block. But we do have to ask ourselves, we have 350 million Americans in America. Are we really big? Because part of nationalism is you focus on unity. You focus on homogeneity, not on heterogeneity or diversity. But with 350 million, how diverse are we? Probably too much. Why? Because if you take 1% of the population, that's the US military. And you'll probably think US military men are the closest knit group in America. I mean, maybe as a whole, but I'm telling you, we're not one big family, not at all. I mean, even remember those FBI grifters, the whistleblower, they're also military veterans. Unbelievable how they treated me. So the point is, if you think military veterans are brothers, good luck. So now we're going to watch some issues here on the homeless in America. Now, it's going to get worse, people. It's going to get worse. And what I want you to ask yourself is this. Part of leadership, and I mentioned this before about Donald Trump with his war campaign. I think they said, like, there's no laws. There's no such thing as international laws. It's might make right. That's not necessarily wrong. But when you have a leadership based on no morality of principles, it's dangerous. Because the same reason we're not using morality outside of America, there's going to be no inside. So the point being is why should we take care of homeless? Think about the American government as if it was a corporation, all about money. Why should they take care of them? We would think, no, we take care of people because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, but if you're a corporation, you could say, yeah, it's the right thing to do, but it costs money. And maybe it's cheaper to just let those people die in the streets. You don't think corporations will think like that? They do. Same thing with customers. It all comes down to money. And I really think that's who we become. It's the same reason I said in China. I don't see that much difference between the Chinese people and this evil Chinese government. I just don't. I look at them as very similar. Whether you think that's good or bad, that's your opinion. But I don't think they're that much different. What do I think about Americans? Do I look at the American government as this evil globalist government? And these American people, though, they're good. I don't. I think we'll kill each other because I really think at the end of the day, I don't think we care about each other because I'm telling you, even military veterans, we really don't care much about each other. And if you think I'm wrong, let's see where this country's going to. But you have to admit, under Democrats and under Republicans' leadership both, it's been a complete failure. We'll show it. So something's going wrong in our country. This is what I wrote about in the book. You may disagree with my solution, but you have to agree with me that whatever we've been doing for the last 50 years, it's not working. So it's possible you say, David, I agree with you. This country is going downhill. It's going to get destroyed. I agree with you. But I disagree with your solution, David. I don't agree that we should go in this nationalist, this trajectory. Maybe we're going to, I don't know, maybe you're far left and you want to go that. Okay, we can have debate. But if you think, no, I think America is doing better and better and better, and I think we should continue, because obviously that's why Trump got elected, because the people in America realize there's a problem and they want a change. And I do think Trump is definitely different than the typical Republican or Democrat, but I still think he works for the highest bidders. And who's that? The corporations. This relationship with Israel is very strange. Well, it's not strange. Now it's getting to be more and more normal where people know it. But I still believe he works for the highest bidders because he's a billionaire. But let's go to this. But at the end of the day, do you think this problem is getting worse or better? And all the MAGA people want to point to the Democrats, but we know they were both in charge. Anyway, let's go to a couple videos and see what's going on.
On the scene of a mass shooting at a homeless encampment in Minneapolis.
In Los Angeles, the mayor warning about a possible serial killer on the loose, preying on homeless victims.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs, and
not sleepy or set on fire.
We have lots of folks who die out here every single day. They aren't a threat to us.
Okay, now I do want to point out 1 second. I think this is important. this news network, which is fine. Man, it's called GGTC. One second. Let me bring this on. It's CGTN. This is a Chinese news network. There's nothing wrong with it, but they're also going to be slant. Hey, we do the same thing. The American news paints China as the enemy. The Chinese news also paints America as the enemy. But I just want you to know this is a Chinese news network that's doing this. But I'm not going to disagree much with it. I still think it's on.
I'm just checking this to make sure you're okay.
I'm okay, hon.
How come you're out here? It's really cold.
I know. I have nowhere else to go.
You have nowhere else to go? What about the shelters?
They're all filled up right now.
Is it keeping you warm?
Yeah. Somewhat.
And I think as we're going to go here, think of all the videos. We don't have all these videos to show you. We're going to go through them fast today because, I'm looking at time. But think of how many, and again, we're only looking at U.S. citizens. If they're a foreign national, that's a totally different story. We're talking U.S. citizens. How many of these stories do you think are happening? How many U.S. citizens probably died in the elements as we went through Christmas? And do you think we care? Again, just like I said, the Chinese people are very similar to the Chinese government, and that's in some ways a compliment. What are we in America all about? Consumers? Did we get our bonus this year? Did we buy our new house? Did we get our new Rolex watch? That's all we give a fuck about. We really don't care about other people. And I've seen it too with the military. That's what I'm saying. Part of the reason I left the FBI and I left the military is I thought that organization was going to be much more of a brotherhood, where it's really not. It's a government corporation. And so you have to ask yourself, now, if we were a really poor nation where you're poor, I'm poor, we're struggling, I get it. But we're the most powerful, richest country on earth. That shouldn't how our U.S. citizens should be. And I agree. And I've said many times, I don't think we should be handing out U.S. citizens. We need to close the border. And I believe in ending birthright citizenship. But if you are a U.S. citizen, there's no excuse you shouldn't be homeless. There should be programs.
A dangerous winter storm is sweeping across the United States. Will those homeless be able to survive?
My fear is not having a place to stay.
I mean, also, you got to think about it. And we'll go through fast, but think if you told these people, do you fear the Taliban? They'll be like, the Taliban? Yeah, the war on terror. Do you feel it? What about the Iranians? Do you fear the Iranians? Or what about the Chinese? No, I don't fear the Chinese. It's the cheapest Chinese product I could buy. I need a heater to heat the night. But you know what I'm talking about. The biggest fear that I think a lot of Americans have, I don't know, food, clothing, shelter, children, safety. Are you? Think about it. We went through the war on terror. Are you still afraid of ISIS? Again, we need to seal the border. Definitely, we need to seal the border. We need to stop, I would say, even stop illegal immigration. But really, think to yourself, imagine how ridiculous it would be if you put a microphone in these people's minds and say, President Trump is thinking about attacking Iran because they think Iran is a threat to America. And this homeless person's like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to survive tomorrow because I don't have food, clothing, shelter. No, I'm not that afraid of the Iranians. This is how retarded this has come. This is where Donald Trump has failed in American First. I say it again. American First should have been American citizen first, not American corporation first.
That's warm, also a nice meal to eat. But it's hard to get out whenever it's like frozen solid outside.
Estimates by the federal government shows on a nightly basis more than 770,000 Americans are homeless. That's nearly the population of Seattle. Homelessness can have many causes, ranging from a lack of affordable housing for low-income earners, job loss, or an unexpected.
And supposedly Trump is I gotta put this up too. Trump is making housing more affordable. Well, good for him. But I think I'm not into that mortgage thing, the extended mortgage. But I think he meant something like because it's weird when I heard him say that, it's as if he copied Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, they've changed the housing market where Xi Jinping has come out. Obviously, everyone knows, hopefully, Xi Jinping. He's the president or the chairman of China, however you want to call it. But he has said that housing in China should be for living, for families. It should not be for speculative investments, meaning from the brokers, investors, and the capitalists in that way. Trump said the same thing. He's right. Meaning the people that should be buying and selling single family homes should be people, not corporations. So he's good on that. Interesting. China's done the same thing. Notice there's similarities. So Trump has definitely put more of a nationalist fever into the presidency than I've seen any other president. And that's good for him. Will it go all the way? I guess we're just going to have to see.
Expense, such as a medical crisis. Social media users define this situation as living near the U.S. kill line. The term kill line originates from
so I wonder if they say,
a concept in video games, a damage threshold that instantly defeats a weakened opponent. Now it refers to
This is also what I want to say. A lot of people say those homeless people are there just because they're on drugs. I'm sure it's a big deal, and I've done the research, but in America, this is what the Chinese mean the kill line. There's not many social nets. This is where Europe is better, but Europe's falling apart through immigration and diversity. But America, there's not that many safety nets, and people don't realize how quickly you could fall. You lose a job, you get a medical expense that you can't afford to lose, and boom. And so it could be a very dangerous, and it shouldn't be. Meaning there should be more safety nets because we don't want to be living in a country where our own citizens are literally dying in the streets. But that was a concept, the kill line, meaning in China, or at least before in Europe, there were more safety layers. Where in America, if you trip and fall once, it could be all of a sudden you look around, you're like, oh my God, I'm unemployed. Unemployed and then living on the streets.
A self-reinforcing cycle where one misstep can trigger an unescapable downward financial spiral. The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness estimates more than 190 million Americans live near the kill line. Imagine, over half of the country's population live a life just one bill away from no home, probably far from how most people perceive life in the United States.
The way it's often described is that the system is broken, it needs to be fixed. But I think the truth.
Interesting. I ran into Andy. So I'm not going to say I'm friends with Andy, but we've run into each other. He is actually, I think, a Wharton School graduate. He did reporting when I was living in Beijing before. But it is what it is. It's the same reason. Now, again, I want to emphasize this is a Chinese news network. And some people would say, let's not listen to Chinese. It's biased and it's the enemy. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to agree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. But I understand where you're coming from. But one, if you really want to learn about yourself, it's kind of like Sun Tzu. There's another element of Sun Tzu that people don't realize is they say you have to understand your enemy, know your enemy, defeat your enemy. But the point is you have to know yourself. And if you constantly look through mirrors, and we're talking American media, mirrors, you're never going to know yourself. And when I left America, and then I looked at America, I'm able to evaluate America much better. So my back to the point is like, I'm not listening to this Chinese news, it's biased. Okay, and you're going to listen to the American news? And some people can say, why don't you listen to both? I mean, that's a good option too. But the point is relax. I get it. You might think it's the enemy, but the point is maybe they're going to tell you stuff that your own news sources will never tell you because there's bias.
Is far more troubling and frightening. American prosperity from the very founding of the country is based on applying the kill line to other people. I think this really is just.
I agree with this. I look at America like a globalist corporation. If anyone's worked for corporations, I want to emphasize this. I work for both Boeing and Amazon. They don't care about you, especially a company like Boeing that should be America first military. And that's what our country, the same mentality. That's what I'm saying. If you think China and Russia are influencing in America, you're 100% wrong. The biggest influence that we have on America are the corporations. Hollywood is a corporation. The news, Fox News and CNN are corporations. And the corporations you work with, I work for Amazon. They basically destroyed all the small business entrepreneurs, and everyone's built up now in a corporation where they have command and control. And what are these corporations? These corporations are greedy. greedy beyond any type of patriotism. And two, these people are cutthroat. The same reason they will fire you and they don't care. We've taken that because who worked for the corporations also? The politicians. So just like you'd say, how can we be in a country where we have US citizens starving in the streets and the politicians don't care about you? I don't know. Have you ever worked in a corporation and then you get fired and the management looks at you and says, bye, they don't care about you. So for the same reason that the management level in corporations don't care about you, who are the managers in the government? The politicians, because they all work for the shareholders. But that's what I'm saying. That's the different thing. You don't see that in China. And because I do view China more as a country, I view America really turned into a globalist corporation. Just like the Republicans were like getting in the argument about the Super Bowl, Bad Bunny, and I don't know, I guess Chris Rock. That would be the MAGA people. You know what I'd say? Not watch the Super Bowl. Has the Super Bowl done any benefit to me? Like the National Football League, another corporation. So there I want to spend my time for money with these other $1 million paid athletes. We live in a globalist corporation called America. That's what you have to understand. And the same reason that Americans don't really care about their workers, the politicians don't really care about their citizens.
The latest iteration applied to American working class of something that really is a feature of the American system.
And our medical system, our mental health system has so many issues.
I get it. You're going to look at her and say, this woman's some ditzy feminist bimbo. I get it. I'd probably not. But at the end of the day, we split or not, but she's talking the truth. We don't want to live in a society where our own citizens are struggling for basic medical care. It just shouldn't be.
Issues, our criminal justice system, it churns people through with no real option. So the street is where folks end up.
And I think that jobs and the cost of
I mean, look at it. This guy, Ashner Hong, who's Asian, I wouldn't have ever given him American citizenship. So we could talk about this, and I think it's really important because the reason that China gets away with this is they're an ethno-state. That's why I don't mind saying that. That guy's Asian American. I would never get. Now, it's okay. He's an American citizen now. You keep him. The country's going to split. But in the future, I would be very particular who can become a citizen. Very particular. Because it should be extremely hard to become a citizen. But once you're a citizen, you will get basic human rights. Like you're not going to live on the street. But we can't be handing out these citizenships like they're Cracker Jack boxes. But that's one thing that the Chinese government doesn't really want to tell you. The Chinese people don't want to tell you. And all these liberals who say, look at Scandinavia, look at China. Well, China's an ethno-state, okay? So you're never going to become a citizen. And Scandinavia, the model used to work because they're all a bunch of white people. Now it's not working anymore. So we have to also speak in reality that if we're going to have a sense of a welfare state, at least at the basic level, we're going to have to pay for this. Now, I'm willing to pay for this, but I'm also want to make very clear who is part of our extended family citizenship. But I don't want anybody coming in there. So we just have to balance that common sense. China is an ethno-state. It is for, by, and of the Chinese people. If you're not a Chinese person, it's never going to be for you. And that's okay, but that's for them. Very similar to Israel. If you're not a Jew, Israel is not going to accept you. It's not going to be your home.
living are changing. And so a lot of people are experiencing that they just can't make it.
A major factor in this crisis is the housing shortage, which has a deficit of millions of units for low-income renters.
In Chicago, as in most American cities, there really is a rental crisis.
Right now in Chicago, we have one of the highest rent growth compared year to year in the country. And so now is a pivotal time to allow more housing.
However, parts of Chicago are exclusively zoned for single-family homes. The development of higher density options like multi-unit buildings is prohibited.
Households are declining in size, and that means we need more homes. And I thought it was strange that we would artificially restrict how many homes could get built in Chicago.
Affordable housing to me is a really important issue. And to me, the biggest denominator in affordable housing is the lack of supply. The best route to affordable housing is to have an influx of housing. And all these restrictions.
Well, I also think one area of affordable housing is supply and demand. If we continue to flood America with immigrants, it's going to bring up the demand for housing. So the point being is this is where I've said, do you want to bring down the cost for housing? Stop allowing immigration. I mean, at least for a short time, 1 to 5 years. Stop. We don't need, how many people really think we need more people in America? But nobody wants to talk about that. But one way to bring down the cost of housing is to bring down the demand. Stop allowing legal immigration. I'd say America's full right now. We have Americans who cannot afford housing.
Merely serve to increase the price of each unit, as well as stop units from being built.
The Trump administration has directed the federal government to buy up to $200 billion in mortgage bonds to help reduce mortgage rates. However, it also plans to have funding for a key permanent supportive housing program in 2026, a cut that could put 170,000 people at risk of homelessness. NBC News reports that home prices have completely decoupled from middle-class wages. Despite attempts to cool the market, mortgage rates remain stuck above 6%. Tight supply has created a lock-in effect, with 30% of homes sold above listing price. The government's pledge to boost housing supply is also undercut by its own trade policies. Tariffs on steel, aluminum, and lumber act as a hidden tax on construction. Added
serial killer on the loose, preying on homeless victims.
So what we're going to do is watch a couple more videos. So I see Shane's comment. He's the only English speaker. Mind you, this is Nebraska. This is, again, if you look at Donald Trump, what he's doing for illegal aliens, illegal foreigners, I think Donald Trump is right. This is not about Republican. This is not about Democrat. This is about common sense. I fully support ICE as long as they focus on foreign nationals. But there's a lot of MAGA people too that have become cultists. And I don't want to change the topic. We'll go to it. But those are two bad shots by ICE. It is what it is. The two American citizens, they were illegal shots. It was horrible. I don't know how. Trump is illegal. He knows how to do this. But the point is, leadership. You could just say, hey, those were two mistakes, but we're still going to focus on the mission. So again, going back to Shane, I still believe Trump is doing a great job in illegal aliens, illegal foreigners. But when it comes to legal foreigners that are going to take your jobs, meaning if it makes economic sense, not to me and you, but to the corporations, and Trump is part of the corporations, I think he's fully for it. So the point is, that's not a good option. So again, if you want to bring up job growth, meaning if you want to bring up job wages, if you want to decrease the demand for housing, the best way to look at it is through immigration, both illegal and legal immigration. I don't think Trump's on board with legal, but I think he's doing a good job when it comes to illegal immigration. Let's do another one here.
City officials have an aggressive plan to change that. They say it's about more than getting people off the streets.
So you didn't hear this, but supposedly the Kansas City is percentage-wise the most homeless city in all of America. That's an interesting fact I wasn't aware of.
Giving KMBC 9 exclusive access to places across Kansas City many of us never even knew existed.
Hi, Reach, walking in.
Living outside is dangerous, and I don't know of a way to make it nice or safe or fun.
Hi, Reach.
It's not a place many of us would call home, but for many living in this encampment,
Hi, Reach, anyone home?
That's just what this is.
Maybe hold back a lid on it.
Nick Allen.
We all know that this is just wrong. This is, and I like Donald Trump, but he eats his steak and lobster in Mar-a-Lago with all his rich kids. Trump dodged the draft. And again, I am not on the bandwagon at all with the Democrats. It's done. Nor was I ever really on the bandwagon of Republicans. I always say that. But Trump dodged the draft. His kids never served in the military. They don't want it. They eat steak and lobster in Mar-a-Lago. They're rich billionaires. And he wants to keep spending all this money, too, on the military and everything. But to see U.S. citizens living like this and say America's the best country on earth, It's wrong. Why don't they want to fix it? I think it comes down to cost. It's like a corporation. They're just like, something, they wait in. Corporations are so cold. They'll be like, how much is it going to cost? If they die. You got to remember, every time corporations lay off workers, they know there's going to be a percentage of workers that commit suicide. They know that. It's like, hi, people, we're gonna lay off 100 workers. There's going to be a percentage that are going to commit suicide. Just is what it is. And so you kind of have that cold mentality. And that's all the way up from Donald Trump. But I keep saying, if we're going to say we're a poor country, we're struggling, it's tough times, that's fine. But if you're going to come out there and say, hey, we're the best country on earth, the most powerful, we got all this money, we're building military, we're building bombs, just that arrest for Maduro, I think I've said, that's good. That's in the billions of dollars, the multiple billions of dollars, the aircraft carriers, the battleships, the Delta Force, the intelligence, billions upon billions of dollars. What, to get Maduro? I don't know. Seal the border. I think sealing the border is well worth the money. You want to bomb the ships that are bringing the drug ships into America? I get that. But all these wars right now, it just doesn't make sense. We know that. And it's been happening under Democrats. It's happened under Republicans. And it's the same thing under Trump. It's not much different.
And is a street outreach coordinator for the city of Kansas City, Missouri. His job is to visit the encampments and talk to the people living here about outreach programs. Methodology from Built for Zero, which works to end homelessness in cities nationwide, estimates there are 4,000 people in Kansas City without permanent housing.
Now it's getting colder. Have you thought about trying to go back in the nursing home?
With so many in need, Nick's goal is building relationships, building trust, and that takes time.
And when I'm progressively engaging and I keep seeing that person, I am now a part of their life and kind of in this with them and form that bond as well.
Creating bonds to help people escape homelessness.
Now we'll watch some other. Now some people might say, Trump knows about him. He's doing something about him. I think you're absolutely wrong. I mean, my name's David Baumblatt. I'm a West Point graduate on the FBI terrorist watch list, not welcome back in America. I've written every single congressman and senator. Trump knows about me. 100% he knows about me. We got a guy named Roger Stone who blocks me on X. So I'm telling you, and this is what I'm talking about, the microcosm. You've seen it here with me. Same thing we want to go to war with Iran. Okay, am I going to get my freedom of speech back? The amount of censorship that I've taken here just to report government corruption. So Trump knows about me. 100% he knows about me. Why would he avoid me? And I'm not talking about Trump himself. I mean, you get the FBI, a politician, someone lower level. They've totally ignored me. And I've served my country. Unlike Donald Trump. Donald Trump never served the military. I serve. I have government corruption report. Why am I not welcome back in America? He's totally ignored me. But you're going to assume that Trump knows about them and he's not ignoring them? I don't know. I would, again, go back to the microcosm. He's ignored me. Is he ignoring them? Probably. Why would he do that? Because you have to think like a corporation. It's literally, I think there was one person who talked about, I don't want to change the subject, but the corruption in the United States government is also there in terms of bribery. Think about it this. Think if you're a U.S. politician. Think if you're Donald Trump, whatever. And you say, hey, why aren't you helping David Baumblatt? They would say, why should we? What's in it for us? You say, I don't know, public service. You swore an oath, duty on our country. Think like a corporation. What's in it for us? The homeless. The government should help those homeless people, get them off the street. Now, it's going to take money, government money. So the point is what's in it for us? The government, Trump, even you, maybe a U.S. citizen, what's in it for us? You don't want your tax, right? We've turned into a corporation. And once you start thinking about it, you're like, yeah, I guess there's not really a benefit. I mean, I don't know. That's why usually politicians, they take up causes that are going to help them get reelected. My cause is not very good. I mean, I'm not purposely doing it, but my story is very anti-American. Not because I wanted to, it's just the truth. It's just that's what a whistleblower is. They report government corruption. They report government wrongdoing. So that's why usually at times it's only going to be if one element's fighting the other. Like the Democrats will use you because they need you against Republicans. Republicans, right? But then you get a guy like me who's like, I really think both suck. And I like Trump because I thought he was different, and I still do, but not as much different as we think. We'll see where it goes. Let's look at this video of a military veteran. This is a military veteran on the street, and ask yourself, when everyone says thank you for your service, think how this guy is. I mean, it's a pretty It's a pretty.
I am.
Right now, there's a lot of support for veterans.
To a certain extent.
Can you explain that?
I was told I wasn't homeless enough.
What's not homeless enough?
That's what
and I
I
don't
asked.
mean to laugh. You're here in a tent.
And I laughed too. First, and then I got pissed because I'm like, what do I got to do? Sleep on your patio? And she goes, no, sir, you can't do that. I'm like, well, what do I have to do? Well, you have to have 180 days on the street. And
I don't even know. Obviously, I've never been in this situation. Think of that rule. I mean, 180 days. I mean, can you survive 180 days homeless? If you do, I mean, pat yourself on the back. But many people, no. So that's the first I heard that rule. But we can all agree this is, and again, I'm definitely putting more emphasis. He's a military veteran, but I still say a U.S. citizen. This is our system. And again, if we're a poor country, I get it. We're not. We are rich. We are spending bill. Look at, I work for Amazon and Boeing, these rich, greedy corporations who don't care about you. They don't care. This guy's a military veteran, but we love to say here too from MAGA, we support military veterans. Really? Who's supporting this guy?
I'm like, you're kidding me. So I had to be on the street for 180 days to become homeless enough.
For the VA to help you.
Correct.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And what's your future like?
Flip a coin. I don't know. I'm trying to get Social Security. I've been denied.
You know, and I say this again, where are the retired military generals, 3, 4-star admirals? Where are they? Why haven't they, like leadership and public service, said we are going to put together a nonprofit and our mission, just like they lied. They really don't care about the soldiers. Literally, go ask soldiers, particularly enlisted soldiers. Ask them, what do they think of the military officer corps? Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. Ask them. Say, hey, what do you guys think? You know, this guy might have been a retired sergeant. Maybe he was a corporal in and out, whatever he was. But hey, what do you think of the U.S. military officer corps? I'm willing to bet majority are going to say, nah, they suck. I totally agree. So in the military, his officers probably didn't care about him. And guess what? They still don't care about him. But you would think that a retired military officers, these generals now, they would form a nonprofit group, and just like a military operation, they would be Operation No Veterans Homeless, and they're going to clean up. And America, a lot of the American public, we would like that. We'd say, look at these generals. They're still into public service. They're still into helping out. They don't. I'm telling you, these generals and admirals, once they retire, not only do they get that paycheck, now they won't work for the military industrial complex, like Boeing. And then when Boeing says, hey, we're going to do a deal with China, you know what they say? We don't care. It's all about the money. It really is. It's sad, but it's sort of like the Roman Empire. And I just don't think people are going to understand or change until it's going to be guns and ammo. The system's going to fall. Or Americans, again, part of it are just going to stop paying taxes. This is such a horrible story here that, again, for us to live in such a rich nation, for a military veteran, I just want to emphasize this now. Just again, basic leadership. You've got Donald Trump, who's probably, I could be wrong, could be quite possibly one of the richest presidents in the history. And I'm seeing this as a pro-Trump guy. Probably the richest president in history. And in fact, I used to live in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., which is one of the most slimiest cities in America, filled with politicians, you know, is also the highest per capita income in all of America, our government. So we are filthy rich, and we're all about spending all this money on bombing other countries. And that's a military veteran. Remember all these MAGA people and President Trump, we support military veterans. How can this be in a country that's supposedly so rich? It doesn't make sense, people. Even my story, I should not be here talking. How am I totally ignored by every single, but I tell you, it also goes to the American people. Because I think we learned it, just like children learn from their parents. We learned it from our corporate masters. We don't care about each other. I mean, look at us. I mean, most Americans would be more concerned with the Super Bowl. Like, who really cares? I haven't watched a Super Bowl in over 20 years. Didn't miss it at all. I could care less. But we have America. That's what I'm saying. The same reason I said about the Chinese people, they're not that much different from the Chinese government people. I know. I'll do some more videos of some dumb MAGA politicians when they talk about evil Chinese government, good Chinese people. Look at Americans, though. Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing, let's watch the Super Bowl, let's buy a watch and some type of sports car. This is who we learn. But you know, sooner or later, the system's not going to work. It's going to collapse.
I 3 times, I've got it applied again. We'll see what happens. If I can get all that I've paid into it, and I would be able to get somewhere, a place to live.
All right, let me go here real quick.
October. People in these tents began to rise. A passing train, their wake-up call. This is Camp Bravo, next to Santa Rita Park on Tucson's south side.
This is supposedly another U.S. military veteran homeless shelter. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling how this could exist in America today. U.S. citizen military veterans homeless.
A place where homeless vets and others can find comfort, food, and shelter. The camp is run by Veterans on Patrol, a program of Walking for the Forgotten Ministries. Leaders of this effort seek out homeless vets and offer safe haven, camaraderie, and a path to support services. Bravo is patrolled round the clock in shifts. Manny was on night watch. This is Calamity. She came in during the night in need of help.
I was 101st Airborne. I actually went in as a voice radio operator, but when they found out that I had some pretty extensive medical background, they made me an expert field medic. I jumped out of a perfectly good aircraft with a medical bag and tried to attend to folks that needed help. This is for your immune system.
Yeah, he does. He backs some big dogs off.
Has magnesium and C coming up. My name is Martin Marsalak. Everybody here calls me Doc. I am the base commander and chief medical officer, so I kind of keep things rolling along here. This is vitamin C, keep you from catching.
You know, it's very similar to the corporations where you get the corporate executives who most of them are sleazy, you know, MBAs, but you get down to the workers. There is a true level if you get down lower, but it's similar to the military. You get more and more in the officer corps, which shouldn't be. You, especially if you find West Point, we should embody the most highest levels of leadership, of duty on our country. But it's turning into this corporate game. You know, everyone's fighting to become general sleazy, where you probably in the military find more of that true esprit de corps, that brotherhood. You probably find it more in the enlisted ranks than you find in the officers.
Cold. Our mission is to go out and find as many homeless veterans that we can possibly locate, bring them in, you know, try to
Think about it. Why are they doing this? Where are the retired generals and admirals? Where are they? Do they not care? They really don't. They're working for Boeing and Raytheon and Lockheed. They're doing their own thing. They just really don't care as much as you think.
transition them from homelessness to housing, get them medical care, things that they've been doing without for so many years. I'll have to get the make and model of this thing, give the VA a call, have them get you another mirror.
We have something here that I've never found anywhere else. We have a VA navigator, somebody who knows the system, knows who to talk to, knows who to call if you don't get what you need, and he does it for us, and that's Doc. He's just the best there is.
I'll call a couple of the mobility places here and see if we can get some spare parts for that one.
At least I can get around.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, scrambled eggs and bacon, they should be happy.
Camp Bravo, officially known as Bravo Base, is one of several in Arizona, including Camp Alpha in Phoenix, Charlie in Nogales, and Delta.
What is going on? I never knew about this. You don't think this is a problem? Does Trump care about this? I don't know. Well, you could obviously, this has been around now already. So all the Obamas and George Bush, all the other presidents don't really seem to care. Is Trump different? We'll see. Some ways I do agree he's different. Some ways I don't. But no one, but what the interesting thing is, ask most American citizens, what do they think about this? I mean, even by me making a video on this, it does show I care. I mean, that's what, I mean, you could tell with the viewer count. I could probably show you, I could do videos on how to fuck goop girls, you know, have threesomes with these whores of goops and worship a white man. I'm sure the fucking people will be like, that's the video I want to see from David. But by me showing these military veterans, it is a form of I care about them. Even in the book, you could see I was actually suspended from the FBI. It's a sort of thing for 2 weeks because I was helping out a military veteran. He was a felon, nothing illegal. He did his time. But I really think most Americans don't care. And if we don't care about our military veterans, guess what? We're not going to care about our U.S. citizens. And I really think it comes at a time that it really doesn't matter about educating Americans anymore. Just let this slaughterhouse happen. It's going to happen. This system, it's going to like a collapse. It's just going to have to happen.
South of Prescott. The portable toilets are donated and maintained by Diggins Environmental Services.
I don't know, donations. Like I said, and my first and foremost of why are they not being helped out is the retired generals and admirals. That's number one. Then the next are the politicians, like the U.S. government. Then it goes on to maybe U.S. citizens. But the first and foremost, leadership number one, where are the generals and admirals? Where are like in my case, as a West Point grad, I have this, and I'm not welcome back in my country. Where are the generals that care about me? They don't. They don't. I knew this. And people are like, David, you must be a bad apple. That's why they don't care about it. Oh, sure. I'm just an anomaly. That's what it is. Just an anomaly. What do you think about this? It's not. Ask military veterans. We don't have esprit de corps. And you might say, well, David, if the military is so bad, why are people serving in the military? Well, I said it. Government mercenaries. It's a paycheck and a pension. Our government military is filled with basically mercenaries. Think I'm wrong? Wait till the war's come. Don't think so? How did Afghanistan and Iraq do? Not very good.
The land, water, and electricity by HMS Fasteners. Both are local companies sympathetic to their cause. Food, clothing, and other supplies are donated by the public.
We've got a lot of really good people out there that are helping us out and keeping us going here.
There are around 20 residents on base, mostly vets and a few civilians. Some move on and others take their place.
You can't turn them away. I can't turn them away.
Manny Jimenez is 66 years old and has been homeless for more than a year.
Somebody needs to take a picture of that, yeah.
He's been here at Bravo for several months.
4 years on the USS Pawcatuck, an attack.
All right, let me just put another one on here.
Diagnosed cancer. I'm raising a family. I can't afford too much, so I need help. I'm not embarrassed to say I need help. I didn't want to get out. I wanted to stay in, and I had no choice but to get out.
It's a lot of numbers. That's a lot of people. Also, we should say that's all the people that report. How many underreported people? I mean, the numbers now. We'll see, but it's such a wrong. We know this is wrong.
My name is Sergeant Albert Gonzo Gonzalez. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, born and raised here. My dad, part of the Vietnam War, he kind of gave me the encouragement to get in. I went in, and my older brother went in the Army also. So, we come from a military background. I went in for 3 years and got out.
As it is appropriate. And so for a stand-down event for veterans, it's usually for underserved veterans or homeless veterans that come together in a community-wide setting where all services are provided.
All right, we'll just do a couple more. I'm trying to
Charles Newton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you today?
You're Mr. Newton, I presume, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're charged with going through a red light on Pleasant Valley Parkway. Do you remember this?
Yes, sir. I do. Because I was on my way to an appointment at the VA hospital.
Are you a veteran?
Yes, sir. I am.
Yeah.
Vietnam veteran.
You served in Vietnam?
Yes, sir.
It's amazing. I would be really curious what these Vietnam, as a military veteran, I mean, everyone knows what I think. I've changed. I mean, our government has betrayed us, these wars, but I'd be curious what these other people think. And people think I'm wrong on this. I've had so many, too, civilian people like, no, I'm proud of the military. Okay, well, when there's a draft, if there's a draft, let's see if you'll serve. There's a lot of civilians who talk a lot of stuff. And obviously, some of these people have never served to begin with. But people think I'm wrong. Let another draft come to America. I'm very interested to see what American men will do. And by that, that's a good litmus test right there.
I have very strong feelings about people who serve in the service, but particularly strong feelings about people who served in Vietnam.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Seems so anyway.
I think that, I honestly, in my heart, think that they are deserving of special recognition on several levels, and certainly on this level. And I think the least we can do in society is say, you know what, I'm not even going to look at the video. Because quite frankly, it was a simple violation of going through a red light. Whether you went through it or not, I'm really not interested. I'm going to dismiss it.
Oh, well,
Right.
I very much appreciate that, Your Honor.
In recognition of your service to our country, and tell me a little bit about your experiences in Vietnam.
Well, sir, I wasn't in country. I was a Navy guy, but we were on the blockade and just keeping things from getting shipped out or shipped in, and also offering shore fire, or, lighting up the sky at night with starburst shells. Keep the guys busy at night. Don't let them sleep. They tried to float rice in on the tide. We'd catch it and.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some people wanted to hear a story, then my bad, you could listen to it. But think about these military veterans in these wars. I wonder what they think now. Like a military veteran from Afghanistan or Iraq that are more recently. What do they think about getting in these other wars now? Iran or what? We'll see. But even if we don't get into these wars, man, we are spending billions upon 1.5 trillion on defense. How are we doing as people? Are our systems working? Doesn't seem to be. One more video and then we'll close it in. Yeah, I think about this, and some people said about young men joining the military. Again, I would only say the only way I could see a young man joining the military is for the same reason I said. It is purely like, hey, David, I need money. I need benefits, meaning me. Then I guess you got to do what you do, but you're doing it, at least you're open about it, meaning you're not doing it for duty on a country. Because what does that mean anymore? You're doing it for yourself. But if you get shot, you get come back in a body bag or whatever, then don't expect people to help you out. Because that's what I'm saying. The people are in the military, they're not doing it for duty, they're doing it for paying a paycheck. So if you really need the money, and in some ways you wonder if that's what Trump is doing, meaning if the economy goes to hell, you're going to start seeing more people sign up for the military, just basic survival. But then it should show you that they're doing it really for a job. And I saw that much. And I want to emphasize this. We'll see the rest of this, but I get it. Even when I was in the military, if you're a low-level enlisted guy, I get it. Meaning it's like, why did you join the Army? Sir, they're talking to me, lieutenant, captain. I was pumping gas. I was working at McDonald's and my life stopped. I went into the Army, but it could be, adventure, brother, but they're like, man, this is a better life. I get that. There's a difference, though, at that, for lack of a better word, lower level than leadership. You don't want people going into the CIA, the FBI, West Point saying, well, it was the best job offer I could get. Because when you're at that level with leadership, with power, with national security, you don't want your officer corps like, well, I was going to join IBM, but I looked at the benefits and the U.S. Army had more, and I was thinking about the retirement and added up here, and it turned out to be this was the financial. You don't want that. That's not what West Point was founded. That's not what the FBI was about. So I get it. You might be working for, I guess, do we still have the United States Postal Service anymore? Like, you could say these low-level government jobs, but those low-level government, they don't have power behind them. And some people are like, dude, I like this job because it's an easy job, it's a good paycheck, and that's it. I get that. You don't want that. It's like the same thing with Donald Trump. You don't want people saying, I want to go and want to be president for the money. Even though, boy, now I'm changing the story. Melania Trump, boy, Donald Trump just spinning that White House, man. Money-making machine. Donald, I don't give a shit about your fucking prostitute wife's shit movie, okay? Focus on the Epstein files. I know it's coming out, but there's some stuff about Donald Trump makes no sense to me. But we didn't put Melania in the White House so she could do some movie and make more millions of dollars on top of that. We put you in the White House to stop corruption and take care of the American people, not to utilize that for your shitcoin, her shitcoin in the movie. Kind of a tangent, but that's where the negativity comes in Donald Trump. Who's a guy who's never served in the military? And what do we see here? We see military veterans that are homeless. But Donald Trump doesn't have time for that. He doesn't have time for the Epstein files, but he has time to market his prostitute wife's shit movie. All right, have fun with that. I get it. This is dated. You're going to say, hey, this is Obama. Yeah, but you think the Republicans have done any better? You really? The Republicans and Democrats, that much different? No. Okay, this is the video for today. So let's sum this up. We focused on military veterans, but I'll tell you, as long as you're a U.S. citizen, it's wrong. Meaning we never focus or said anything about foreign nationals. But if you're a U.S. citizen, particularly a military veteran, why Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who, by the way, Elon Musk has censored me. Everyone knows the story of Elon Musk. We want to go to the moon. We want to go to Mars, which I get it. I think these are great endeavors. But, look at how much money we have. We're so rich. We're so powerful. Well, then why do we have a homeless problem? Other people say it's just about drugs. I disagree. I think it's more than that. And if it is about drugs, then fix it. I don't know. We're a drug nation. Then why are we so much into drugs? Well, we're sealing the borders. Okay, I don't know. But you got the pharmaceutical firms. You know where I'm going. Stop making excuses. If you think we're such a great country, then get the people off the homeless. Just get them off. Figure out a way. And I think one of the ways is, one, you have to limit who becomes a U.S. citizen. You can't hand this out. Once you're a U.S. citizen, though, you will have the basic protections where, like in China, they're right. They're making fun of America. They call it what's called the kill line. It really is. That's why a lot of Americans, too, like to move to Europe, even though Europe's falling apart, because that's what happened in Europe. And this is a great example. Europe had a very robust welfare safety net. I'm not all against that. I'm a national socialist. I'm a fascist nationalist, whatever you want to call it. But Europe was very homogeneous. Lack of a better word, white. There were a bunch of white people. Now they've become diversified. It's not going to work. Europe will cater. So the part is I believe in that sense of a welfare, especially basic lines, but you have got to control. Hence, I did the video before about the 14th Amendment, the birthright citizenship. It has to be abolished. It has to be abolished. It's too easy. You have to guard who can become a U.S. citizen. But once you become a U.S. citizen, you're protected. Until then, why are we spending all this money on wars? You as an American citizen, literally go back on the war on terror. Are you really afraid of ISIS and the Taliban? As long as the borders are sealed and immigration, they're not allowed to come, really? So now what, we got Iran or Greenland? I guess we got to go to Greenland because we're worried about getting nuked by Russia, really? So it's obvious we have all this money. And if you're a military veteran who's going to serve and you're all big on the brotherhood, why don't you care about these other military veterans? It's not going to work. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video, but sooner or later, I think at the end of the day, and this is the sad part, I'll leave it with this leadership. The sad part with human leadership is until it affects you, you don't really care. Unless it's your family. Because if it affects your family, then you care. The problem is in America, we don't have really family anymore. When I talk about family, I'm not talking about the immediate family like mom, dad, and your brothers and sisters. I'm talking about as a whole. We don't have it. China does. So the point is none of this is really going to matter. Most Americans would be like, help the homeless or watch the Super Bowl. Most Americans are going to say, I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. And you know something? It's probably just part of human nature. And that is until the system collapses, it will. But until, I just think it is what it is. We really don't care about each other until we have to. And until then, it could be too late. But it's going to happen. It's going to come. It's part of human history. Till then, David Baumblatt from Terebinth Leadership. I appreciate your support. And ask yourself, as a military veteran, why aren't these politicians who are military veterans or whatnot who say, thank you for your service, right? Thank you for your service. Donald Trump, thank you for, why would I be ignored for so long? You know about me. You really think they don't know about me? The FBI, so they know about me. Why would they be ignoring me? For the same reason that Americans prefer to watch the Super Bowl, they don't care. Now, it's different from them. You're a civilian. They get your taxpayer money. They don't care about me, though. They don't care about you. What do I keep saying? These systems, give it time. You're going to start seeing it clear as day. These systems are going to fall apart. And when they do, what comes? Guns and ammo. Guns and ammo are coming. And that's the history of mankind. China just happens to be part of the history. They're on the rise. They used to be on the bottom. They're on the rise. And America, as a globalist empire, is on the decline. Give it time. You're going to see it. Until then, it could be too late, but it's part of human history. Thank you for your time. David Baumblatt, lead to victory.